Hey y'all, welcome. It was a weird wave. It was okay. Like there was a fly in the room or something, and there's not. So, okay. Hi y'all. I'm Laura. Welcome back to my channel. I am compelled to give this intro every time I turn on the camera. I don't know why. So today, I have a little bit of a different video for you. One that is crooked, not straight. Hey y'all. I am back. Sorry, got a call from Kevin who had taken Morgan to the pool and he put a bottle of water in there that was in the beach bag that wasn't completely sealed and the water spilled all over their towels. Had to bring out some towels. So I think they're in a good space now. Fingers crossed. So I've got a little bit of a different type of video for you today. I've got a life update, and I haven't done one of these in a while. I feel like it's been a hot minute since I've done a life update. And then I got a little tiny thrift haul. It's all closed though. So we're gonna take it back, way back to when everything began. So I was posting like mostly unboxing videos and stuff like that. And I took about 2 months off, which considering my recent inconsistencies, it doesn't seem really like all that big of a deal. But anywho, so I took off probably like 2 months or so. And when I came back, I let everybody know that I had lost my job as a result of I don't think we can't like say those words on YouTube anymore. Apparently it gets everybody like, they don't like it. Anywho, and I got a new job, except my new job is in Massachusetts and I, like we mentioned, live in North Carolina. So we were moving. I don't know if you remember, then I filmed like a bunch of videos. I'm like, oh, this is a different setup because I'm moving and I'm going to move my stuff around and blah, 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 blah. All of that business. And then I didn't talk about it anymore. So here's what happened. So back in it was August of last year. So we sold the house. We accepted an offer and great. Everything's fantastic. We're going through the whole process. About 2 weeks in, they decided that they were going to drop out and it was weird too. Like they had all kinds of like inspectors out here and like, even though the house had the land had just been surveyed, they brought their own surveyor out here again. So now there's like 2 sets of pink flags all over the trees on the property. Super strange. Anywho, they decided that they wanted a new house, and a newer house, one that wasn't built in 1981. Look, and for my friends up in the Northeast, you're like, seriously, 1981 is a problem. Exactly. Anywho, I've already said anywho like 7 times already. I apologize. So we went through, we had the punch list of things. We're like, you know what, there's things that we were already going to repair. So we just went ahead and repaired them. Like we pulled out the hot tub, we redid the deck. And those were things that we were willing to do like as part of like our punch list anyways. So got all that done. So that was in September. So we ended up like re-putting the house back on the market, I think at the end of September of last year. And we only had it up for like a month or so because then it was beginning of things like just people in North Carolina aren't buying houses in October. They're not. It was still like in the midst of all the bad, no vaccine yet, nothing like that. So we're like, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to pull it off and we're going to wait until February. So, and also in the meantime, so my office, they were like, hey, we're going to reopen Labor Day last year. Didn't happen. And then they're like, hey, we're going to reopen maybe sometime in March. Didn't happen. And then the last go round was because we were closing one of our offices because the lease was up and they were building a new office in downtown Boston and they were building an office out in the suburbs. They're like, hey, you know what? Don't bother going back to the Cambridge office. We're not going to reopen it, period. It's just when the downtown Boston office opens, you can go there. And then the suburb office is going to open very shortly after that or the beginning of 2022. In the meantime, work from home, knock yourself out. So the last update we had was that the Boston office was going to open around July 4th. And so Kevin and I were like, this is stupid. Like, why are we going to sell our house and then I'm going to work remote in Massachusetts and there's no office to go to? Like the whole point, like if everybody's remote, what difference does it make, right? And so we're like, hey, you know what? Until it makes sense, until there's someplace to go, it doesn't make any sense for us to pay like a Massachusetts mortgage versus a North Carolina mortgage, which is considerably different. So we went through all of that. Also, fun fact update, we did just get like another update a couple of months ago that actually it was like last month. They're like, hey, we said we were going to open the new office after July 4th, but everybody said, hey, like, can't we wait until Labor Day after the kids go back to school? And they said, sure. So our office isn't even opening until September 7th. For them, it's like a whole 18 months. Like, nobody has been in office for 18 months. Like, nobody has been together in office, anything like that. And actually, we do have like a vaccination policy. So in order to come to the office, you have to be fully vaccinated. And that is not just employees, but visitors as well. So any visitors, vendors, anybody like that. And they did that so everybody wouldn't have to wear masks and you wouldn't have to worry about social distancing or anything like that. So, did I mention, I'm going to ramble on for a while, so grab yourself a drink. So, anyways, we're like, okay, what are we going to do? So, and we had like considered a couple of different things. We're like, hey, maybe it makes sense to move to be closer to family. You know, if I have to work remotely, you know, and I could work remotely, like, not a problem. I could continue to work remotely. Everybody on my team is remote. So I have 2 trainers that report to me that are in North Carolina, and I just hired another one in Austin, Texas, and I have another opening for a co-op who's probably going to be located in Massachusetts, and then I'm probably going to have a content creator role open up that is also remote. So my team it's not like all of my team is going to come into the office. We're going to still continue to collaborate remotely, which is fine. We're like, well, hey, if everybody's going to be remote, what difference does it make? So we thought about, hey, should we move closer to family? And we thought about that hard for a little bit, and then my job expanded, to put it nicely. So previously I was responsible for, myself and my team were responsible for all of the onboarding and continuous education for just the direct sales people. And then, gosh, it was the end of April that expanded to include all of our go-to-market team. So that's all of direct sellers, the channel sales team, as well as customer success and customer care. So essentially the scope of the scope of people that my team is responsible for essentially doubled, which led me to have which opened up a couple of positions on my team. So I hired a new customer success trainer, hired a content creator. And so that I anticipate that as the company grows, like my span of like my scope, my area of control is going to continue to grow as well. And for me, like at that point, it didn't make a whole lot of sense for us to commit to working remotely, because I need to talk to people. So now that it's not just sellers that my team is responsible for, and it's so many other teams, I was like, it just doesn't make sense. I'm going to need to go in and talk to these people and collaborate with the leaders and whatnot. And chances are I'm going to need to go to not just the Boston office, but also to the suburbs office. So we should move. And then, I think I mentioned this before. So like my husband is a music director, like choir director, and the field that has still not yet really reopened yet but it's starting to. And so we're like, hey, why don't you go, when you see jobs, go ahead and apply for jobs. And because that will dictate, because like those jobs don't come up that frequently. So depending on where he would land would kind of dictate like where we'd want to live. So we wouldn't want to be out west, like near Framingham or whatever, if he ended up with a job like out on the Cape. Like that would be a really bad idea. Which is quite honestly, like when we sold the house the first time, that's where we were targeting, was kind of like out west, like out near like Framingham, Marlborough area. Well, lo and behold, my husband did get a job, and he got a job as a music director out on Cape Cod. So out on the bicep part of the arm of Cape Cod. So it's so hysterical for me, because like when I told people like when I tell my coworkers like where it is, they all make the bicep and they're like, so this is like the Cape and like he's like working right here, which is hysterical because for someone who grew up in West Virginia, so this here, let me get it right. So this is the state of West Virginia, and here's the northern panhandle, legit. Here's the eastern panhandle, right? I grew up right here in the northern panhandle of West Virginia, and Kevin and I met out here. He was a college professor and I was running a jewelry store out here. So yeah, that's the state of West Virginia. So I think it's hysterical when people like represent their states like with body parts. Anywho, I did it again. So anyways, he got a job. We're like, woohoo, he had a job. His job started remotely July 1st and in person September 1st. So we're like, fuck, we gotta sell this house. So we hurried up, we scrambled, we put the house back on the market again. We're moving for real this time, like for really, really real. I swear, it's like, well, we have to because his job. So actually it's gonna be pretty funny. So he's gonna have to be like in person in September, like beginning of September. My office downtown Boston opens September 7th. So it kind of all comes together. So right now we are day 8 of the house being on the market, and just shoot me, like literally just shoot me. We've had pretty good feedback. Like a lot of people, like there's nothing like terrible about, like the biggest piece, and I think I told this before, but like as I point back here, our house backs up to the highway, backs up to 540, which is a major interstate. It is pretty far away. So we're on like an acre. And when you go all the way back to the end of that acre, and the acre is like a pie piece. And this pie piece back here is, again, using your hands to like represent like geography. So you do hear some noise, not when you're in the house. You hear no noise from 540 when you're in the house. Except sometimes at night, like there's people who've been drag racing at like 11:30 at night, but as you really can't hear it. Like you can't hear it you hear it outside a little bit. It's like a dull hum. They say that, I hear it, but like I hear more birds and whatnot, or maybe we're just used to it. But it's something that like literally everyone in this cul-de-sac would face. There's at least 4 houses right here that all have the same problem, but none of them have like sold their houses, whatever. So we are on day 8 of the house being back up on the market. We've had like 7,000 showings, it feels like, including somebody who wanted a showing yesterday on like the 4th of July at 4 o'clock. We're like, no, you can't come at 4 o'clock on the 4th of July. Like literally, like, don't you have something else to do? And I'm pretty sure those same people changed their showing to be at 10 o'clock today on the 5th, and they didn't show up. Nobody came. Cleaned up Mella's house and nobody showed up. So here's the thing though, we got to move. Again, like my boss doesn't care. He'd be like, whatever, we'll see you later. But my husband's like, we have to move, we have to sell everything. So who knows, you might get some like different types of content videos, like me, like empty house tours, or me going through and trying to find a house. It's crazy too, like flights to Boston are insane right now. Like I can't get like a weekend flight up there for like less than $400, which is ridiculous. I am very grateful that I have a stash of Delta Sky miles that I need to use up, that I can like fly up there for free. It was so funny. My husband's like, well, I can fly up and find a house. I'm like, oh, no. That's really precious. Like you think that I would like sign off on a house that I didn't want through. No. So we are actually targeting kind of like the Plymouth area, because it's on the commuter rail. It'll take me into the city, and apparently like the southern station, which is where I'd be coming into, is only 3 blocks from the office, which is also good to know because we'd been targeting like northern before, like north of the city, which apparently would have been much worse because if you're coming in the train like north of the city, you end up at North Station. It's like 20 blocks to the office. I'm like, oh. Ugh. So yeah, this is gonna be fun. This whole new, like, I've never commuted before. Like, I thought about it. I mean, the majority of my like professional career has been like here in North Carolina. So I've never like been a professional in a city. if that makes sense. So I've always driven to any of my jobs. Even when I worked like downtown Raleigh, I just drove and I parked in the parking garage. And driving to downtown Raleigh, I'm sure, is nothing like driving to Boston, which apparently I do not want to do. I also have an enormous car and I don't want to deal with the parking. So I take a train. I never take a train before. In Pittsburgh, we didn't have trains. We don't have trains. We don't have trains in Raleigh either. So it's so funny because they're like, oh, you can take the commuter rail. I said, do they have hobos? And they're like, what, Laura? I'm like, do you have hobos on the train? Or didn't there were hobos go? And they're like, no, Laura, there are no hobos on the commuter rail. I'm like, oh, shucks. That's too bad. So that is my life update. House is on the market. No offers yet. I think next week we're gonna drop it. Like, it's gotta move, so we've got to sell this house. And the crazy thing is, like, it's really hard. Like, I can't even find a house up in, and we might have to concede and like see if we can find some houses like up there and try to put a contingent plan on it. Like, I would much rather come to them contingent with, hey, our house is under contract, versus my house is on the market, we have to sell this shit in like 3 weeks, one way or the other. So we shall see. So might get some videos of me walking through some empty houses or other people's houses, trying to decide what I like about them. So that's it. I thought I was going to do a thrift haul, but I've already rambled on for quite some time, so I'm going to stop now. So yeah, life update, good times. I'm going to go ahead and film this thrift haul after this. So if you see me in the same shirt, that's how you know. So I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're healthy. I hope you had a fantastic 4th. And I will talk to y'all soon.